What do you do when you feel overwhelmed by life? We can feel stretched, squashed, and squeezed by life's sufferings. Paul says we're hard pressed on every side, but not crushed. Though they may feel identical, they're very different in intention and in result. As we observed last week, life can be grinding. Take a coffee plant, for example. Its precious fruit is taken and then placed in a grinder and ground right down, then pressed and pressured, drowned, and then filtered out. Espresso literally means pressed out, yet only then can it produce precious espresso and that addictive aroma. You see, pressing has purpose. When grapes are crushed in the winepress, it separates the flesh of the grape from the juice. The unusable parts of the grape, the dregs, are dumped, much like coffee grinds, and the precious juice is preserved. When God places us in the winepress of life, we undergo a painful process whereby the dregs of our character will be filtered. From the vine's perspective, it's all about the devastating loss of its finest fruit. But with the vintner's eyes, he sees not only the valuable transformation, but also a greater purpose at work. The culmination of our suffering can be the blessing of others. Our suffering is sacrificial. Now, being pressed publicly is never pleasant. Wine presses of old were essentially giant vats of grapes in which people would jump on them and crush them. You ever feel like a whole pile of people are just jumping down your neck? Like you're being smothered by people's perception of you? Can't say a word on social media before they gang up on you? Do you ever feel like this COVID crisis is squashing and making a mess of all your fruit, your hard work and your legacy? Ironically, instead of understanding folk being similarly grinded and pressed, many of us become judgmental, and we can buy into the belief that God is just the same. In one of the greatest writings of antiquity on human suffering, Job is surrounded by a number of friends, advisors, or counselors. Instead of comfort him, they criticize and critique him. When Job was hard pressed on every side, they unwittingly attempted to crush him. It's a sad truth that humanity is often better at inflicting pain than enduring it. Joseph was another who suffered greatly. Sold into slavery by his own brothers, trafficked to a foreign and hostile land, falsely accused of rape and then wrongfully imprisoned, let down by false promises of his so-called co-workers and friends. Yet nonetheless, Joseph maintained a positive attitude thanks to his faith perspective, to become the Prime Minister of Egypt, second only to Pharaoh. On reuniting with his family, he drops this bombshell of truth. You planned evil against me. God planned it for good to bring about the present result, the survival of many people. Look at, lots of people will have plans for you and opinions of you. But we reiterate, the planter has a plan. Your suffering may be the result of others' intentions and plans for evil, but God's intentions are for your good. He can take what the enemy meant for evil and turn it for good. So let's trust the great vintner. He's ready to make wine out of our tears of juice. So this video is one thought from a series of talks called New Wine. Check out further videos, the full talk, and all the other information you need on shannonchristians.ie.